What's up, everybody? It's your boy Sterling from ENT, joined by my good friend Joseph.
Of course.
Joseph, how you doing today?
Doing wonderful. Ready to talk some football.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. All right, so without further ado, let's get right into it. Starting off with the injury report.
I'll start off this one. So right now, Russell Wilson out at least 1 month with a finger ligament issue.
Yeah, it's a ruptured middle finger tendon.
So his finger is drooping like this right now. It's not.
Basically.
It's not hanging on well, and he's may miss up to 6 to 8 weeks with this injury.
Yeah, probably up to 6 to 8 weeks, at least 1
Up
month
to.
at the very least. So for that time period, Geno Smith is the starter.
Solid.
He didn't do too bad when he came in a couple weeks ago.
Not bad at all.
Not bad. What do you think for the fantasy options on the Seahawks?
They're still must plays.
Yeah, facts.
There's no reason to
You
sit
can't
them.
sit them.
DK Metcalf,
Yeah.
Tyler Lockett, you start those guys every week. And next, we're on to Saquon Barkley, who was carted off the field last Sunday with a ankle sprain
A low ankle sprain.
and is expected to miss this week at the least.
The full timetable is unclear though, but he's expected to miss at least this week.
He is. Hey, if you've seen it, it was like the size of an apple. How swollen it was, dude.
Yeah.
It really was.
If Devontae Booker is somehow still out there, pick him up.
Might as well go for it. Any handcuff you can have,
Yeah,
go
facts,
for it.
Facts.
And then we're
Juju
gonna...
Smith-Schuster is out for the season with a shoulder injury. He had successful surgery the other day.
expected to make a full recovery as well.
Yeah. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is expected to miss a few weeks with an MCL sprain, and he was placed on IR the other day, so he's guaranteed to miss at least 3 weeks.
At the very, very minimum, 3 weeks. And let's see. So now we're talking about Daniel Jones, who was given a concussion by the Cowboys linebacker. And according to his coach, he's doing all right. It looks like he's had a few limited practices this week. With an injury like this, it's kind of hard to say when he'll come back because he has to pass a certain amount of tests, this, and that. So it's not for sure he'll play this week against Dallas.
If he doesn't play and Mike Glennon is the starter, the fantasy options for the Giants receiving group is probably not the best.
Yeah. I mean, it's not a must-start option for sure.
Yeah.
And now on to Julio Jones, who finally returned to practice this week after missing 2 weeks with a hamstring. Julio Jones tends to miss game with soft tissue injuries. But he's expected to make this comeback on Monday Night Football this week.
Yeah, and he's on the Monday game too, so
Extra
he's got
time
an
for him to heal.
Yeah, extra time.
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey, he's 50-50 on his return this week against the Vikings. As of when I saw, like most recently, it looks like he's like most likely going to play. Hopefully he does.
It looks like he's on pace to play.
Yeah.
With a few limited practices last week, a few limited practices this week, you hopefully expect him to play.
If he doesn't play, Chuba Hubbard is in your lineup, probably.
Yeah, flex option.
Yeah.
He doesn't have nearly as much upside as Christian McCaffrey, but still solid.
He's a safe play.
Safe play. Dalvin Cook also is back to practice this week, but his status is still unclear for Sunday because this week is the week before their bye. So there's a chance they may sit him and have him fully rested before he plays again. But for right now, his status is still up in the air.
And then our last one for the injury report today, Dallas Goedert was placed on the COVID list on Tuesday, and he's missing Thursday Night Football tonight.
Yeah, and if Zach Ertz is out there to pick up, you should go and pick him up.
Yeah. I think Zach Ertz is a great option this week, especially without Dallas Goedert.
Mm-hmm.
He's basically the sole tight end on the team.
Yeah, it's basically Devonta Smith and Dallas Goedert, or not, Zach Ertz as the pass catchers this week. And then Miles Sanders, who has basically been a non-factor this year. So, must start this week.
Yeah, I agree. And then our next segment is going to be the top 5 most surprising players of the 2021-22 season so far. So these are players that you weren't expecting to have great seasons like they're having so far this year, but
they're off to a great start, all of these guys.
yeah, pretty much all these guys are having career years this year.
100%.
So to start off, number 5 is Marquise Hollywood Brown. So far, he's having a breakout year this year. Finally, basically doing what the Ravens drafted him to do.
Deep threat.
Yeah, he's wide receiver 6 on the season so far, which he's a wide receiver 1, and he's at the upper echelon, basically.
Yeah.
He's averaging 17.9 fantasy points a game this season.
That's very consistent.
It is. And especially for the team that he's on, the Ravens, obviously they're not a pass-heavy team.
And he still gets a lot of targets, too.
Yeah, and they're high-value targets.
Like, deep
he's
targets, red zone
targets.
Weeks. Yeah. 2 touchdowns?
Yeah, he had 2 touchdowns this past week.
And that crazy outing against the Colts, which was a shootout.
Yeah, that game was crazy.
If you had any players playing on Monday Night Football, there's a good chance you probably won.
Yeah.
If you're playing against like Jonathan Taylor or Lamar or let's see,
Marquise Brown.
Mark
Andrews.
Mark Andrews dropped 50. So if you played against one of those guys last week,
you're probably not looking too good.
Yeah, you probably didn't win. But on to the next person, Sam Darnold, who is QB 10 on the season and is averaging 24.9 fantasy points in a game. You see, Sam Darnold is a great player. He has excelled with the Panthers. He has a lot of great targets to throw to. He has a lot of great receivers on his team. And this year, he's been pretty consistent.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say start him necessarily every single week, but if you see him against a good streaming option, then I'd say 100% start him. If you're looking thin at quarterback, somebody got injured, say you have Russell Wilson, Sam Darnold is a good pickup for you.
And he's most likely out there on the waiver wire too.
Yeah.
He most likely is. And for the value, if you have Sam Darnold and you've been playing him for the value that you got him for, because I'm pretty sure he was undrafted in most leagues.
Yeah.
So to get an undrafted player and he's QB 10 on the season so far.
It says something.
Yeah. He's a QB 1 on the season, averaging basically 25 fantasy points a game.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had multiple 30-point games this year. So.
And then with Christian McCaffrey turning back into the lineup and the Panthers hopefully looking to get their feet back under them, Sam Darnold is a good option and a good matchup, you know?
I agree. And, you know, this is basically his first year that he's had good passing options. I mean, like around him, around the whole team. Because he's got 3 or 4 really good options he can throw to.
No disrespect to Jamison Crowder, but it's just Robbie Anderson and DJ Moore. Like, those are 2 great receivers, you know? DJ Moore has been balling out this season. If you got him, you probably drafted him in the 7th,
somewhere
8th round. So you got yourself a steal this year.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's playing out of his mind right now.
And that's still crazy to me. Sam Darnold was QB 10 on the season. It's crazy. So number 3, at the tight end position, the Buffalo Bills tight end Dawson Knox is the tight end 3 on the season, only behind Travis Kelce and Mark Andrews.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, he's in the upper echelon so far.
He's been playing very well. That's for sure.
Averaging 13 fantasy points a game, which on paper doesn't sound crazy.
But for a tight end,
at the tight end position, and he's getting high value touches. He's getting a lot of touchdowns, a lot of a lot of red zone targets.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and he's got high touchdown upside, especially on the high powered offense that he's on.
The Bills have been playing good. They've been throwing the ball with ease. They have, who do they play this week?
The Bills. Oh, I was just looking at it. Let me see if I can pull it up right here. Dawson Knox plays the Tennessee Titans.
He plays the Titans, which should be a great matchup for any type of receiver for them. Anybody is probably worth a start. Stephon Diggs, Dawson Knox.
Mm-hmm.
Running backs?
Running backs.
Zach Moss.
Yeah, Zach Moss. It's so.
Or Devin Singletary. Do you start either of them?
It's kind of murky.
It is. Very murky.
It's really murky.
Because they're a committee. It's 50-50.
Sometimes you'll have a big game where Devin Singletary will break a big run.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you'll get like 6 points. So it's tough to
There's
tell.
really no in between on that one. All right. On to Cordell Patterson, who is the number
two. Number 2 on our top 5 surprising players.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I think number 1 and number 2 could be flipped. Just because how crazy Cordell Patterson has been this year.
You can either start him at running back or wide receiver.
Yeah.
How crazy is that?
So far, if you're counting him as a wide receiver, he's the wide receiver 7 on the season.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're counting him as a running back, he's the running back 4 on the season.
Wow.
So
he's in the top 10 in both categories.
Yes, he's a RB1 and a wide receiver 1 at the same time.
And I'm guessing you probably picked him up off of waivers too.
Yeah. That's the crazy thing with a lot of these players. Like, Marquise Brown was probably drafted at like the very end of drafts.
Mm-hmm.
Sam Darnold was probably undrafted. Dawson Knox
undrafted.
Cordell Patterson was for sure undrafted. And our number 1 was probably drafted towards the end of drafts.
Yeah.
But yeah, Cordell Patterson averaging 17.8 fantasy points a game. And he's averaging 13 touches a game. And week 5, this past week, he had 21 touches.
And just think about how much upside he has on the receiving side of the game. Because he's running out of the backfield and catching passes. You know, he had a solid outing last week. He had 21 touches, which is...
That's crazy. And his touches are going up every week.
Mm-hmm.
So...
there's nothing to scoff at with that. So...
if you're a Mike Davis owner, you're probably scared right now.
How many points did Mike Davis have last week?
This past week he had 11, but that's because he scored a touchdown.
Oh, like a goal line touchdown?
If you take away that touchdown, he had a bad week.
5 points.
Yeah. So yeah, Cordell Patterson has been going off this season. Wide receiver 7 and running back 4 for a player that he picked up off waivers. He had that one crazy game. What was it, 3 touchdowns?
3 touchdowns,
That was crazy.
2 receiving touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown. And he had like almost 40 points that game, or
Almost.
Or
That
more
was
than 40
insane.
points. All right.
And then finally, our number 1, the wide receiver 1 on the season.
Mike Williams.
There's literally no wide receiver in the entire NFL who has more fantasy points than Mike Williams this year, averaging 20 fantasy points a game.
And it's crazy. This year he's only had 1 dud of a week against
the
Oakland.
Raiders.
But other than that, he has played very, very well.
Against Las Vegas.
Against
Las Vegas Raiders. And he's averaging 10 targets a game, Mike Williams. He's got a high target share. He's got great hands. He's on a great offense. Justin Herbert has been slinging the ball around this year.
They're throwing the ball over the top almost all the time.
Yeah.
And he's coming under and getting them, that's for sure.
And for the value that you got, Mike Davis so far is a league winner. Mike Williams, I'm sorry.
Mike Williams.
Mike Davis. I'm tripping. Yeah, Mike Williams so far is a league winner this year. Because for the value that you got him at, being at the tail end of your draft, or if you picked him up off waivers, for him to be the wide receiver 1 averaging 20 points a game. Because if you have him, odds are, unless you're dealing with injuries, he's in your flex probably.
Yeah.
Because you drafted 2 wide receivers at the beginning of the draft.
And then you took
stick
him.
Mike Williams in your flex. Like, he's a league winner so far this year.
100%. And then averaging 10 targets a game, that's elite target share right there.
Yeah, it really is.
Elite target share. Not a whole lot of wide receivers
He's
average
had games.
10.
I was looking at it last night. He's had games where he's got 12 targets, 14 targets. So
he may not make every single catch, but his upside is just unmatched, you know?
Mm-hmm. So our next segment is going to be defensive...
Streamers?
Streamers.
So these are teams you wouldn't necessarily have on your roster all year.
But if they're out there and you need a defense to pick up for this week,
if you're looking
got a good
for
matchup,
a 10-point game, hopefully, these are some defenses to look at.
The number one defense that I would pick up, I personally picked him up in our league, are the Indianapolis Colts defense against the Houston Texans this week.
The Texans?
The Texans.
They got blown out 40-0 2 weeks ago. They almost beat New England last week. Almost. But we don't think the Texans will be as high-powered against the Colts defense, hopefully. The Colts defense has looked subpar.
Yeah, but the matchup is so good that
it's hard to pass up.
But you got to take into consideration that they have elite quarterback Davis Mills starting right now.
Elite.
Davis Mills. He
He
actually had a good week last week. He had like 24 fantasy points.
Yeah.
That was his first good week. But if somehow the Colts defense is out there on the waivers, if somehow they made it past when the waivers ran on Tuesday, pick them up and play them.
Take a chance. Take a chance.
I don't even think it's taking a chance. I think it's like
a must play.
It's a must play.
It's a must play.
Especially because defenses, even if you have a great defense, I think defenses in fantasy are all matchup based.
Oh, 100%. Unless you had the Rams like 2 or 3 years ago.
Yeah. Facts.
Then it was like you played them every
Bears.
single week.
The Bears that 1 year.
Or the Bears.
So yeah. But yeah, defenses in fantasy, I think streaming is the best strategy for defenses.
I agree.
Our next option is available in 72% of Yahoo leagues.
And that is the Dolphins defense.
Against the Jaguars.
I think this week should be a pretty decent matchup against the Jaguars. The Jaguars offense has looked, it's improving, but it's not necessarily where it needs to be right now. So a Dolphins defense, which has played okay this year, should have a reasonable matchup against the Jacksonville Jaguars this year, or this week.
This week, yeah. Trevor Lawrence, we've seen him. He's been obviously making rookie mistakes.
A few interceptions here, a few interceptions there.
So Dolphins defense, in the past they've been a good defense. This year they've been a little disappointing.
A little bit.
But with this matchup, I think they should have a very good week.
At least it's not the Washington football team defense bad.
Yeah,
but
facts.
And then let's move on to the Packers defense against
this one, to me,
the Bears.
It's not like this one is if you're super desperate. If you're desperate and you see the Packers defense out there, they're playing against the Bears with Justin Fields, who hasn't been lighting the world on fire at all.
Not quite.
And he's also dealing with an injury right now.
Mm-hmm.
So he's a little bit banged up. And so if the Packers defense is out there and you need an option, you're desperate, I would say pick him up and play him against the Bears. I think they can have a good week.
Yeah. I'd say you have a 70% confidence on this matchup.
And they're only available in 48% of leagues, which is why this one is like a kind of like borderline made the list on here.
Just made the list. All right.
So we just covered the defensive streamers. Next up is the quarterback streamers. So there's this one that might surprise you. It's Taylor Heineke against the Kansas City Chiefs.
Hey, I can respect it.
Taylor Heineke's available in 77% of Yahoo leagues. So far this season, he's averaging 22.5 fantasy points. And I looked it up. The past month, the Chiefs have allowed the quarterback 4 this past week, quarterback 4 2 weeks ago, quarterback 2 3 weeks ago, and quarterback 2 4 weeks ago.
Wow.
So basically, the last 4 weeks, the quarterbacks that have played the Kansas City Chiefs have been top 5 every week.
Have been above average.
QB4, QB4, QB2, and QB2. Now, those quarterbacks were Lamar Jackson was QB2 1 week. Josh Allen, I believe, was the QB4. Mm-hmm. Justin Herbert played them, and then I can't remember who was the other guy that played them.
Baker Mayfield.
Oh, no, did he? No. I think that was week 1, right?
Yeah, it was week 1.
Week 1. I'm trying to remember who the other quarterback was that played them.
Tyrod Taylor?
No, it wasn't Tyrod Taylor. It was a quarterback. Let's just say that. It doesn't matter. He was QB2 on the week that week.
Okay.
I looked it up. So basically, last 4 weeks, the Kansas City Chiefs have been getting torn up by quarterbacks, and Taylor Heineke, I mean, the numbers are already there. He's averaging 22.5 fantasy points a game. This week he has a great matchup against the Chiefs. I think if you need a quarterback option, like if you have Russell Wilson, like you said earlier.
If you're looking for somebody that you need.
Taylor Heineke, I think you can start him with confidence this week, and I think he can be a really good play.
Yeah, I could see him QB 13.
Yeah.
I could see him.
up there.
I
maybe,
could see him all the way up to QB like 6 or 7.
Yeah,
man.
facts. I was gonna say I could
he
see
can
top
have
10.
he can have a 30-point game very easily against the Kansas City defense.
Mhm.
If they're rolling and if they start running the ball well and throwing the ball well, then I think Heineke will be a top quarterback option this week.
And he has good options too. Good options to throw to. He's got Antonio Gibson in the backfield.
Must
J.D.
start
McKissick.
this week.
Yeah, I agree. J.D. McKissick, arguably one of the best receiving backs in football.
Mm-hmm.
So you got options out there.
And the next
one, I put question marks on our script right here because he was like, I'm not really sure. But Carson Wentz against the Houston Texans. So far, Carson Wentz, fantasy-wise, is having a pretty solid season.
Very solid, indeed.
Obviously, the Texans are a favorable matchup for the quarterback position.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if you're desperate, I would rather play Taylor Heineke
Above Carson Wentz.
But if Carson Wentz is out there, I think he's not a bad play. He's not a bad play.
So my question is, would you rather start Tyler Heineke or Ryan Tannehill this week?
Oh, Taylor Heineke.
Taylor Heineke?
I'd rather play him.
I think, who does Tannehill play this week?
He plays the Buffalo Bills.
He does. So yeah, Heineke is a better option.
Yeah, I'd rather play Heineke. Especially, I think he honestly might be averaging more points on the season already. And with this matchup too, I think Taylor Heineke, I'd rather play him above Tannehill. I mean, you can name other quarterbacks.
Derek Carr?
Yeah, I'd play Heineke.
Or Kirk Cousins?
I'm not sure who Cousins plays this week.
I believe he plays
Carolina Panthers.
the Carolina Panthers. Do you trust that matchup?
Oh, I'm not sure. I'm really high on Heineke this week. I might even play him over Cousins.
Yeah?
Yeah. Especially, just the matchup is so good.
Would you start him over Kyler Murray?
No. No. I don't. There's like one or two people I would play over Kyler Murray right now.
Who? Patrick Mahomes?
Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen.
Lamar
Jackson. No, I'd play Murray.
Yeah?
I'd play Murray.
Alright, so our next segment, we're gonna give you some flex options this week. We're gonna talk about players who we would rather start in our flex spot this week. So we're talking people who are middle of the pack, RB 20s, wide receiver 20s. These guys can 100%.
We got some tight ends thrown in here too.
Of course, these guys can 100% blow up this week, or the opposite.
Yeah.
But let's get straight into it.
All right, so our first one. Would you rather start Josh Jacobs or Chase Edmonds this week? Josh Jacobs is playing the Denver Broncos, and Chase Edmonds is playing the Cleveland Browns.
I'd say this week, I feel like Josh Jacobs is probably the safer option this week.
His floor is a lot higher than Chase Edmonds.
Chase Edmonds is a great receiving back.
And Chase Edmonds is also dealing with an injury right now. He's been limited in practice this week.
Yeah, and James Conner is still in his backfield.
Mm-hmm.
So for at the moment, Josh Jacobs seems to be like the better option. He's coming.
I would say Jacobs is for sure the safer pick.
Yeah, for sure.
Because Edmonds, obviously, like I said, he's dealing with an injury. Like you said, he's got James Conner in his backfield, who's having a pretty good season so far.
Yeah.
Especially for the expectations that he had coming to the Cardinals.
Mm-hmm.
Jacobs, to me, is a much safer play. I think Edmonds might, I think he might have a higher ceiling.
Yeah.
But it might depend on what you need.
Yeah, definitely.
But
if you're looking for a boom or bust this week, you could play Chase Edmonds. Mm-hmm. But if you're looking for a more safe play, Josh Jacobs is your way to go.
I'd agree. So our next one would be James Conner versus the Cleveland Browns, or Tony Pollard against the New York Giants.
How do you feel about this one?
I'm going to go with James Conner on this one.
James Conner?
Just because they're sort of similar situations, right? Mm-hmm. They're both thought of to be the number 2 back on their team, but they both get a lot of usage as the number 2 back on their team.
Yeah.
I would go with Connor. I think Connor's having a better season so far, and I also think, obviously, actually no, I wouldn't say his offense is that much better. His offense is better though. I would say the Cardinals have a better offense. So he's going to get higher value touches, and I would play Connor, and I think he has a higher ceiling too. I'm pretty sure he's had some pretty good games this year.
And I, on the other hand, feel like I would want to play Tony Pollard this week. I feel like Tony Pollard has played well this year against some tougher matchups as well. You know, I feel like against this Giants defense, he should be able to get some. Of course, he'll play behind Zeke, who is a little bit banged up this week from what I was looking at. He's dealing with some rib injury. He's limited in practice. But Tony Pollard should see at least 10 touches this game. And then he still has his receiving upside. So if you feel like it's another case of Tony Pollard's floor is probably a little bit higher than James Conner is, but I feel like James Conner may have a bigger game this week. You know what I mean?
Especially with Chase Edmonds being banged up, James Conner could see more usage this week.
Definitely. So now we have Myles Gaskin against the Jacksonville Jaguars or Damian Williams against Green Bay.
This one might be my favorite one out of all these.
Oh, definitely.
Myles
This
Gaskin
is a good one.
or Damian Williams. I know who I personally would pick. Well, actually, I think this is another one where it depends on what you need.
So,
Because
talk about Myles Gaskin first.
Okay, with Myles Gaskin, we've seen in previous weeks, his usage throughout this season has been super inconsistent. Literally on this podcast last week, we sat right here and told you drop him. And then he went out and had a great game.
He had 30 points.
30 points.
He did have 5 touches. He did have 5 touches last game for 25 yards. But he also did have like 2 receiving touchdowns.
But the week before that, he had 2 rushes for 3 yards. So that's the thing, right? So which Myles Gaskin are we going to get? Are we going to get the one where he gets 2 rushes for 3 yards?
Possibility.
Because the thing is that Myles Gaskin versus Damian Williams, Gaskin obviously, maybe not obviously, but he has the higher ceiling.
Yeah.
As we've seen last week. But with Damian Williams, with obviously David Montgomery being out, Damian Williams is the starter, and you know he's going to get guaranteed, 13 carries? 14, 15?
Yeah, the rookie Herbert has been on his tail for his touches, but yeah, he's averaging up there.
So you know he's going to have the usage with Myles Gaskin. He's also got Malcolm Brown right behind him, who
Malcolm
gets touches.
Brown, he hardly played last week, though. That's the thing.
That's the inconsistency.
The Dolphins' offense
Because
is
2 weeks ago,
different.
Malcolm Brown got majority of the touches. Myles Gaskin had 2 that week. So it's like, I don't know. Me personally, I'd go with Damian Williams just because I know the touches are going to be there.
Yeah.
And Myles Gaskin, like you said, if he had 5 touches this past week, what are the chances he gets 5 touches again this week and doesn't get those touchdowns?
True.
He has a bad week. Damian Williams, you know he's going to get the touches, and you know the usage is going to be there.
And they're most likely play from behind, which will definitely help Damian Williams out of the backfield since he is such a dynamic pass catcher that with them playing behind, they're guaranteed to throw the ball more, which means Damian Williams hopefully should have a few targets this game.
Yeah.
Especially since Justin Fields is going to be taking the field. I feel like it's a lot safer to throw to your running back than a deep threat wide receiver. So hopefully Damian Williams will come through this week with a good game.
You want to list off our next one?
Our next one is Adam Thielen against Carolina or Amari Cooper against New England.
So, like I said before, we just had some technical difficulties. Adam Thielen and Amari Cooper are in similar situations. Maybe because they're sort of the number one receiver on their team, or perceived to be the number one receiver on their team. But week to week,
they can be outplayed.
Yes, Adam Thielen has Justin Jefferson, who also demands a lot of targets. And Amari Cooper has CeeDee Lamb on his team, who demands a lot of targets.
Who's scoring a lot.
Yeah, both of them have a lot of receiving options around him. Amari Cooper has Dalton Schultz, who's having a breakout season this year at the tight end position.
Sure is.
And so, I'm not sure about this one. What do you think?
I'd say This week, I'd say probably a safer option is Amari Cooper, since he's playing New England. I feel like last week New England did not look great against the pass against Davis Mills.
Yeah, if
So
you give a great game to Davis Mills,
I'd say it's a little their secondary is a little suspect after losing Stephon Gilmore.
mhm.
So I'd say Amari Cooper should have a lot of targets this week. I'm projecting him to have at least 15 points fantasy wise, at the least.
Hopefully a touchdown too.
Of course.
That'd be great.
And then we look at Adam Thielen, who's playing against Carolina, who is shown to be the best defense in the league the first couple weeks, but has cooled down a little bit. But I still feel like Amari Cooper is still the safer option in this place.
Mm.
Do you agree?
I'm not sure. We've seen some inconsistency
For
from Amari
both.
Cooper over the weeks. Adam Thielen has had some pretty good games this year.
He dropped 5 points last week.
Both of them have had their games. But me personally, I think because of the matchup, I'm going to pick Amari Cooper. I think he's got a great matchup. Obviously, both of them have pretty good offenses. But Amari Cooper going against New England, who, like we just said, gave up a great game to Davis Mills last week. Just
Very
imagine
safe.
what Dak Prescott's going to do to them if
Yeah.
Davis Mills did that. So, yeah, I'd agree. I'd go with Amari Cooper also.
All right.
So, our next one, Chase Claypool against the Seattle Seahawks or Devonta Smith versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
You know, I really like this one. I think this one is a good one. You have Chase Claypool, who is a number 2, right behind Deontay Johnson. And with Juju being out for this season, it's pretty wide open. There's targets that are going to be coming his way.
Yeah, there's vacant targets now that Juju is gone.
Because the Steelers are very pass-heavy. They always have been with Ben Roethlisberger. It's more of a pass-first kind of offense. Najee Harris has been great when he does get the ball, and he catches passes out of the backfield. So you can't complain about either of those. But when it comes to Chase Claypool, you expect him to get a lot of targets this week against Seattle, who has had an okay defense.
Yeah.
Not great. They gave up a lot of points to Tennessee, But if Devonta Smith against Tampa Bay also has a great matchup, though. Tampa Bay defense has not been very well against the pass. They're giving up. They're pretty high up there.
And
passing
Jalen Hurts has been going ham this year.
Definitely.
He's one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL.
Top 10 fantasy-wise every week, just because of his upside.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go with Claypool on this one, though. Just because there's vacant targets with Juju being gone, he could have a bigger role. We've seen him have crazy big games in the past. And, I think he's a really good play this week, especially against Seattle.
I agree. But if you do have Devonta Smith, don't be too afraid to start him, because Tampa Bay does allow a lot of yards, and you could see a really high ceiling with Devonta Smith this week.
I agree. I'd play Claypool. Wait, did you say who you would play?
I'd say play Claypool, but Devonta Smith is a great option too.
Our next one, T. Higgins against the Detroit Lions or Cortland Sutton versus
Las Vegas.
the Las Vegas Raiders. Not the Oakland Raiders.
No, not the Oakland Raiders. So, you want to talk about... Who do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about Cortland Sutton.
Go ahead.
Cortland Sutton, to me, honestly, he's one of my favorite receivers in the league.
Okay.
Cortland Sutton, I had him his rookie year. Me and you actually made a trade with him his rookie year. Who did I give you in that? Tevin Coleman.
I got
Tevin Coleman that year. I remember I made that trade right after Emmanuel Sanders got traded.
If we're in a dynasty league, I would have gotten fleeced.
Oh, yeah, facts. We should actually start up a dynasty league.
I'm down.
That'd be fire.
Like, you have the same players.
Yeah.
And you just hope
it's
for them.
basically like a franchise.
Yeah, that'd be honestly fun.
Yeah, facts.
But continue to talk about Cortland Sutton.
I tried starting... Here, one second. I just want to add this in. I tried starting a dynasty league. It was with a bunch of randoms, though. And we made like a whole Snapchat group chat. And everybody was all hype into it for like 2 weeks, and then it died off.
Really?
Yeah, it was at the beginning of last season. But yeah, it was cool.
Who did you have?
I'm not going to lie, because I kind of knew it was going to fall off. I basically drafted my team just to stack up for that season. So everybody was drafting like future assets. I was like, nah, I'm just going to draft everybody who's good right now.
Yeah, because it was going to fall apart.
Yeah, facts.
And should we talk about my trade on fantasy football?
Yeah.
Okay. So this week I made a trade with one of
our league mates,
Aaron Jones and Tyreek Hill, for Christian McCaffrey and Jamar Chase.
So he gave up
Tyreek
Hill and Aaron Jones,
mm-hmm.
and he received
Christian McCaffrey
and Jamar Chase. What do you think about it? What are your thoughts on it a couple days after?
Well, my initial thoughts are, who is always going to be the number one running back in fantasy?
Christian McCaffrey.
Christian McCaffrey. If you look at it, he's projected to outscore quarterbacks on any given week. His projections are 25 points a week, bro. Where else do you see that?
But not only that, you got Jamar Chase.
I got Jamar Chase as well, who has been extremely consistent.
Yeah, and we haven't seen what he's capable of yet.
No, we've seen just a small sample size of what's coming up, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And you figure it was kind of like a buy low situation, because if you have Christian McCaffrey and he's playing, there's no way you trade him.
Yeah.
But
the thing is, though, with McCaffrey, is just his availability over the last couple seasons.
But you have to figure he's going to turn it around, right?
Yeah, I'd agree.
You have to figure.
It's just he hasn't been available the last 2 seasons, but when he is available, he's playing. Best. He's the best. And it's not, I mean, Derrick Henry's close to him. I don't know who else is.
I'd say if
Dalvin Cook, possibly.
If we were to redraft number 1 and 2, I'd say because of Christian McCaffrey's availability, Derrick Henry would go number 1.
Mm-hmm.
But that's just purely because of Derrick Henry is out there for every single game.
He's a beast.
And he's a phenomenal football player.
Yeah.
Do you
That's a good conversation to have, because McCaffrey gets a ton more receiving work than Derrick Henry does.
He does.
A lot more.
Their offense is basically either hand the ball off to Christian McCaffrey or throw the ball to Christian McCaffrey. You know? So they live and die by him. Mm-hmm. If he's functioning, they're going to win games. If he gets shut down, they have a little bit of a tougher game ahead, but Christian McCaffrey, you don't shut him down.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, it was very difficult to give up both Tyreek Hill and Aaron Jones. I had to look at it like this. I had to find people who... I had an issue with Tyreek Hill not being consistent enough for me. I mean, I love him when he scores 41 points for me.
Yeah.
But he also scores... He scored 6 points 2 weeks in a row. And it's like, you know, it's not bad. Mm-hmm. But at the same point, I can't win if I'm only getting 6 points for my wide receiver number 1, you know?
And it's also, like, you kind of had to try some to turn your season around.
Yeah, my fantasy team is 1-4 this year, so I had to find something to hopefully get the gears turning.
And I just want to let the viewers know, we've been playing fantasy football for, 4 years now?
4 years, 4th year.
And as of this past week, this is my first time being under 500. I'm currently 2-3 in our season, in our league right now. 2-3, which is, you know, it's a shame. It really is.
If you were to ask anybody, I have the worst luck in fantasy football. I always have the most points scored against me, and I always have players who erupt and score like 40 points against me. You know, last week it was Justin Herbert for 50 points. The week before that, it was Josh Allen with 45 points. So, yeah, very difficult to play against that, you know?
That's how fantasy is.
Some people are a little luckier than that, though. They get to play people like, let's see. Who has not played? If you're playing against Allen Robinson, don't worry, bro. You'll be fine.
Facts.
You'll be okay.
I was thinking about, because, you know, in this episode we did top 5 most surprising players. I was thinking about doing top 5 disappointing. And I think Allen Robinson was going to be...
Number 1.
Yeah, number 1.
Number 1?
Yeah.
He came into the season with such high expectations, and to only be having single-digit point totals the last
every week so
5
far,
weeks.
basically. I'm pretty sure every week he's gotten single digits.
It's around 5, 6, 7 points. That's not.
Somebody was saying that low-key Darnell Mooney might be the number one wide receiver.
Darnell Mooney. Would you pick him up right now?
Darnell Mooney, if he's out there,
is he a must start this week?
With my roster, I probably wouldn't pick him up. But if I didn't, because I have a lot of depth at wide receiver right now.
Mm.
So for me, probably not. But if I needed wide receivers, I would pick him up.
Yeah.
Because he's a very good deep threat. He can get you big games. But it's just, the offense is so, like, it's just not an offense I want to trust right now. Okay. It's really not. Unless I'm playing, like, I'd play Damian Williams. I'd play the running backs. If Montgomery was healthy, I'd play him.
Yeah. But just, you can't trust the wide receivers at the moment.
Yeah.
But, okay, back to the original question.
Yeah.
Cortland Sutton
versus Cortland Sutton.
Who's your pick for this week?
I'm going to go Cortland Sutton on this one.
Okay.
I might have a little bit of bias, though, because Cortland, like I said, he's one of my favorite players.
Mm-hmm. I think I might have to go against you on that one.
Really? T. Higgins?
I feel like T. Higgins will have a better game this week.
Mm.
I think Cortland Sutton will have...
I mean, he's playing Detroit.
He's playing
Detroit, so...
They're not great on defense.
To say the least.
So I feel like there should be plenty of open targets for both Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, who I both have on my fantasy team, which is kind of sketch. But, I'm just going for it this week. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm starting Cortland Sutton too.
Are you starting T. Higgins?
I'm starting T. Higgins, Cortland Sutton, Jamar Chase. I'm starting... Yeah, both of those guys, actually.
Every player on this list.
Yeah, every player on the list, technically.
These are actually just all from your team right here?
Maybe.
Alright, so our final one, we got Noah Fant versus the Las Vegas Raiders,
mm-hmm.
or Dawson Knox versus the Tennessee Titans.
I'd say my first initial thoughts, Dawson Knox.
I would agree.
I feel like Dawson Knox should have a great game this week. Yeah, he might be able to match his performance from last week.
Mm-hmm. He's been having great weeks. Like we were talking about him earlier. Tight end 3 on the season, only behind Kelsey and Andrews.
You can't go wrong with that.
So basically, Dawson Knox is ahead of every tight end not named Travis Kelsey and Mark Andrews.
And then thinking about how thin the tight end position is, if you find somebody like that, a stud, you'll be doing great.
Facts. Noah Fant, I was looking at it earlier. I want to say he was the tight end 6 or 7 on the season. But Dawson Knox is just having such a good season so far. If I had him, I wouldn't bench him until he proves me otherwise.
I'd say you just ride the hot hand.
Yeah, he had his first 100-yard game this past week of the season.
That's great.
Yeah. So Dawson Knox, obviously, we were talking about him earlier. He's on a high-powered offense.
Better
offense than the Broncos for sure.
Yeah.
He's got a much better quarterback, a better matchup, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So
more favorable.
And he's got, like we were saying earlier, he's got a high touchdown upside. So I would for sure play Dawson Knox in this situation.
All right. So
wait, I got another one. This is my personal question for fantasy this week. Noah Fant versus the Las Vegas Raiders or Dalton Schultz of the Cowboys against the New York Giants.
I'd say this week you'd want to start Dalton Schultz. I feel like this week should be a good game for him.
He's having a breakout season.
Against the Giants. I feel like there'll be tons of passing in this game. A whole lot of opportunities for him to snag some balls in the middle of the field. Mm-hmm. So I feel like this game could 100% be a
Dalton Schultz game.
A 6 or 7 target game for him, if not more.
Yeah, he's been getting high target games. So
a high target share and a high powered offense means fantasy points and fantasy value.
Yeah.
So
Noah Fant has had some inconsistencies so far this year too.
Was he dealing with an injury?
He was at the beginning of the season, yeah. I forgot what exactly it was, but he was limited in week 1, I remember. And so, yeah. But
so he's on the upswing.
Yeah.
In a few weeks from now, he may be a must start every week.
I hope so.
Hope so.
I hope so.
And then, do you want to bring up some more fantasy names? Who would you rather have for
rest of season
rest
or for
of
this
season?
week? All right, rest of season. This is off the dome now.
Off the dome.
All right, so let's see. Let's try to think real quick.
Give us a name.
Give us a name. Producer.
Travis Kelce.
Travis Kelce
versus
or
who?
Darren Waller.
Darren Waller.
Ooh. I would have to go Travis Kelce
I'd
because
agree.
of the whole John Gruden
Oh, yeah.
situation. We don't know how their offense is going to look since he resigned. So that's the reason I go with Kelce.
I agree. I think Travis Kelce, there's no one I would play over him.
Yeah,
Nobody.
Okay, give us a wide receiver.
A wide receiver.
Give us a mid-tier wide receiver.
Yeah, mid-tier wide receiver.
Mid-tier wide receiver. Goddamn.
Think of somebody on your bench on your team.
Yeah. Who's
On
on
my
your bench?
On your bench.
Shoot, here, let me pull the phone out real quick.
Let's see.
I don't really have a lot of depth right now on my bench. See, I have Jarvis Landry on my bench, but that's because he's out. I got 3 running backs in.
Oh, did you drop Odell Beckham?
I did.
I saw that.
Yeah.
Odell
Oh, you
Beckham?
dropped Odell Beckham?
Would you rather have Odell Beckham or Jarvis Landry rest of season?
Jarvis Landry.
Jarvis Landry, indeed.
Yeah, they recommended I drop Jarvis Landry for Cole Beasley.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do that, though.
Hell no. Anyway.
Yeah, don't do that.
Well...
Or give us your running back
running
option.
backs.
Who do you want to
running
start
back
at
option?
flex?
Ooh, wait, what's that?
Who do you gonna start at flex this week?
Oh, at my flex, I have Melvin Gordon the third.
And then who's your next running back up?
My next running back up. You see, that's the thing. I have so many injuries.
Who's your starters?
Saquon is on my bench right now because
Who's
he's
your
doubtful.
starters?
So okay, if Saquon's healthy, I would have Melvin Gordon on the bench and Chris Carson would be in my flex.
I feel like, but this week, no, Chris Carson isn't guaranteed to play this week.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm not taking Kareem Hunt out.
No, you have to
been
start
much
Kareem Hunt.
better.
Kareem Hunt's having a really good season.
Yeah, he's been incredible for me.
Okay, Kareem Hunt, Nick Chubb, rest of season.
Oh,
Chubb. I'm going to
Chubb?
say Chubb.
really?
Why
I'm
Chubb?
going to say Chubb.
Really?
He gets most of the goal line work.
Okay.
That's true.
He has higher chances for touchdowns. Kareem Hunt, if I'm not mistaken, gets most of the receiving work though.
That's what I was
So
going to
receiving
say.
work is high. You obviously, so depending on your score, we do half point PPR. If you're in a full PPR league, maybe it could change. Kareem Hunt could be higher value in a full PPR, but in our league half point, I'm gonna
Sure.
personally stick with Chubb.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay. So, would you rather
and I also
start...
think he has a higher floor.
Yeah?
Yeah, I would say.
Okay. Now let's think about some wide receivers. I'll give you a name, Jacoby Myers.
Hmm.
Okay.
Or... Jacoby Myers... Who...
Jacoby Myers. I'm trying to think of a receiver on his tier.
Yeah. Or Cole
Jacoby
Beasley.
Myers.
Cole Beasley.
Cole Beasley or Jacoby Myers? We're getting into a little bit more difficult ones.
This is like for a deep league.
If you're in a deep league, these are harder questions.
Yeah.
Jacoby. I might go Jacoby Myers.
I agree.
Yeah.
With Mac Jones, they just throw the ball. Damian Harris, non-factor this year.
Yeah.
The thing is with running backs from New England is if they fumble the ball, they're in the doghouse. And
Pretty much.
when you fumble, you're in the doghouse and there's no coming out until like 2 or 3 weeks later.
Yeah.
So, if you
Severe
really,
punishment.
it's his punishment, and I don't trust him. He fumbled controversially on the 2-inch yard line. Did you see that play?
No, I don't think I did.
Like he was coming across and then like punched out, and then he was literally, the goal line was like right there, and it was like, yeah.
Damn.
Hurt my fantasy team a lot, you know.
Hey, you know what you should do?
What?
You should go pick up Robbie Anderson.
He's available?
Yeah, he's available.
What?
I dropped him.
Oh, you dropped him. Okay. Would you rather trade for Aaron Jones or Najee Harris?
I'm going to say Aaron Jones.
Yeah.
Aaron
I
Jones?
have to agree.
Najee Harris, I'm not sure. For the value, I think Aaron Jones, you probably have to give up a little more.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
But,
Just because of his name.
I mean, if you're asking me who I would target Najee Harris because I would have
Buy
to pay
lower?
less. Yeah, you buy
Yeah.
lower. But rest of season, if I had to
Aaron
pick one, I'd
Jones?
pick Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I was gonna say the upside is higher.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Aaron Jones.
What about Mike Williams or
Mike Williams.
Mike Williams or Devontae
Mike
Adams?
Mike Williams or Mike Williams?
I don't know. That's such a hard one. I'm going to say Devontae Adams just because I know he can keep it up, what he's doing for a whole season.
Yeah, he's more
Mike Williams-
established.
This could just be a hot streak, possibly, what he's doing right
You
now.
think so?
Yeah.
Do you think he's
I'm
consistently?
not saying it is. I'm just saying that there's a chance that
There's
maybe.
a chance it could be.
Yeah.
That's hard to say, man. That's a tough
Because
one.
literally, we were just talking about it earlier. Wide receiver 1 on the season.
How can you pass
Yeah,
that
well,
down?
It's only time can tell, though.
Averaging 20 fantasy points a game and getting 10 targets a game.
Yeah,
So, it's tough to say.
tough to say.
But just using history, I'm going to say Devontae Adams.
Devontae Adams.
Now, Mike Williams, if he keeps this up, he can turn into like that Devontae Adams type of
Roll.
player to have, where you can count on him to do that week after week. You know? Like I said, only time can tell with that.
What does all this do to Keenan Allen, though?
To Keenan, well, as somebody who has Keenan on their team, Keenan's really only had like one bad week, you know. And if Mike Williams is like on that hot streak like that, then that just opens the door for Keenan to do damage too. He's only had 1 week where he's scored under double digits. Like, he's been a consistent 10 to 15 points.
Oh, that's good. So it's their high passing offense, which
Yeah.
supports both of them.
Yeah.
They also have a really good quarterback as well too.
Herbert has been playing great.
That helps as well.
Yeah. You got anything else?
That's it.
I think that's it. This is our episode 2. This is week 6. Actually, I do have one more thing. You want to go over a little mini preview for tonight? We have the Buccaneers versus the Eagles.
Ooh, this is a good game.
Fight, Eagles, fight.
I feel like this
Start everybody.
Start
everybody on the
Start 'em
on the
off.
Bucks.
on the Bucks.
Everybody, both teams.
on the
Except
Bucs?
for Miles Sanders. Don't
Miles
start him.
Sanders 6.
Don't start Miles Sanders.
He does not make the list.
Wait,
Start Zach Ertz. Start
So you're
Jalen
saying-
Hurts.
Okay.
Start
Devonta Smith.
Devonta Smith. Start everybody on the Buccaneers offense.
Godwin. Mike Evans.
Evans.
Brait. Do we start Brait
Do we
this
start Brait? I was literally about to ask you that.
Do we start Brait?
I start him. It depends on who
Start
you have.
Brady.
week? Brait.
Cameron
Oh,
Brate,
Brate.
the tight end.
Cameron
Oh.
Brait, the tight end.
Shoot,
Um,
that's for Tampa, right?
I would
Mhm.
say, depending on what you have at your tight end position, start him.
Streamer. 100%.
Yeah, facts. We should have mentioned him earlier.
If somebody is on a bye,
Mm-hmm.
throw him right in there and he'll do good.
Yeah.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Tom
Literally
Brady.
just because of he's gonna get a touchdown.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not guaranteed, but the chance that he gets a touchdown.
There's just a good chance that this game will just. There'll probably be like 30 to 40 points
Yeah.
for both team. I feel like this is going to be probably a very fun
I'm hoping-
matchup to watch.
I'm hoping this is the week Miles Sanders gets back to it. I really am.
I don't know if I have good news for you there.
I don't. There's not good news unless I see it tonight.
Do you want to make a trade in fantasy?
I mean, you want Miles Sanders?
No, I don't want Miles Sanders. I want a wide receiver.
I got wide receivers.
All right.
All right, which one you want?
Who do you have?
I got Kenny Galladay. Here, I'll list you all my wide receivers. I got DeAndre Hopkins,
Okay.
AJ Brown,
Mm-hmm.
Amari Cooper,
Mm-hmm.
Marquise Hollywood Brown,
Mm.
and I have, who did I just mention? Kenny Galladay.
I'm looking at right now. AJ Brown might be
AJ Brown.
my target. Who am I gonna trade? I'm looking a little. The reason I'm looking for a wide receiver is I'm a little thin right now.
Uh-huh.
My running backs, of course, look stacked now with
Okay.
Antonio Gibson
I would
And
like
Christian
a running
McCaffrey.
back because this is the first season where I have 2 wide receivers. Well, obviously I always have 2 wide receivers, but I have a wide receiver in my flex.
Yeah.
And I personally like to have a running back in my flex just because I feel like running backs, you're getting guaranteed touches.
I don't know.
Most of the time.
I feel like if you're going to put somebody in your flex, it has to be almost a wide receiver.
Well, it depends on what you want. If you want a higher ceiling, wide receiver is probably what you go with.
True.
If you want to play the safe route, then running back is the route.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
We'll discuss it.
We'll discuss
it off camera.
We'll let you guys know.
Yeah, facts. Next episode, you'll see if we made a trade or not.
I'm down to show the viewers our fantasy team. We could show them a screenshot of our team or something.
I'll edit it in.
All right. Well, thank you for
everybody.
watching.
Thank you for watching. This was our episode 2, week 6. What would you call this? Preview. This was our top 5 most surprising players of the season so far.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Hit the like button. Go down below and subscribe. Leave a comment. Do all that good stuff. Thank you.
That good stuff.